As Sony put more and more emphasis on their PlayStation console, they realized that they needed more internal development studios making games for them. Knowing that different regional markets wanted different kinds of games, they set up or bought several in Europe and, in 1999, created their first North American studio in sunny Santa Monica. And while their first game, Kinetica, was not a huge commercial success, that game's engine would go on to power numerous other PlayStation titles, including their next game, God of War. And it was God of War that would come to define the studio, a powerhouse combination of fluid gameplay, slick graphics, and engaging art design. God of War 2 was a no-brainer. But as work began on the highly anticipated sequel, a storm was brewing over Mount Olympus. After the first game, the same team got straight to work on God of War 2. But to everyone's surprise, even though the PlayStation 3 was about to be released, Sony Santa Monica chose to stay with the PS2. They knew switching to HD assets on a new platform would add a tremendous amount of time to the development cycle and would abandon the 100 million PS2 owners who wanted a sequel. Amazingly, Sony let them code the highly anticipated exclusive title for their last-gen console. For the sequel, Jaffe moved from being creative director of the game to creative director of the entire studio. The first game's animation director, Cory Barlog, was chosen to be the sequel's new head man. Knowing they had to top their original while remaining true to what made the first such a success, Barlog and the team got straight to work under Jaffe's supervision, only to have Jaffe suddenly leave the company. While he parted on good terms with Sony, Jaffe stated afterwards that he did not feel he was being compensated enough for the work he was doing. Without the vision of the creator of God of War, everything rested on the untested Barlog's shoulders. He wouldn't disappoint. God of War 2 released in March of 2007 to the same reception that its predecessor did, with acclaim and sales through the roof. While it did add a few new features, including new powers and weapons, more boss fights, and some new gameplay modes, on the whole it kept to the adventurous, violent soul of the first game. It is widely considered to be the swan song of the venerable PlayStation 2, taking the system out on what many consider its highest note. Sony, only naturally, ordered another God of War from their Santa Monica branch, and the team began work on their first game for the PlayStation 3. This time, there was no getting around it. Kratos was going HD. But 8 months into the project's creative director, Cory Barlog, announced that he wouldn't be going with him. For undisclosed reasons, he chose to leave Sony behind. Stig Asmussen, a veteran of the first two games, picked up the reins, the third director in as many games. As if that wasn't enough change for the series, in June of 2007, a game had been released for mobile phones which had been developed by an entirely different studio, God of War Betrayal. Even though it was a 2D side-scroller, the game was compared to its precursors for its groundbreaking graphics and intuitive, fluid gameplay, and was hailed as one of the greatest mobile games of the time. And in March of 2008, another game for a portable system was released, God of War Chains of Olympus for the PSP. This game was made by yet another studio, Ready at Dawn, but like the others, was praised for its graphics and gameplay, and is considered, once again, as one of the very best games of its platform. With such a massive reputation, God of War 3 will release in March of 2010 to gigantic anticipation. Whether or not the series can maintain its phenomenal pace remains to be seen, especially since the series has never had a consistent crew or director. But even without that cohesion, the series has somehow always managed to draw amazing critical praise for gameplay, art design, and presentation, as though the core tenets that David Jaffe and the original team laid out were so solid that no one has dared to deviate from them. So strong has the series become in the minds of gamers that Sony has announced that God of War 3 will not be the last game in the franchise, as they'd stated previously. Rather, this will just be the final chapter of this storyline. Because no matter what happens to Sony Santa Monica, they have proved that Kratos and their studio can't be stopped.
I bring the destruction of Olympus!
Now, you will see how strong I am.